Welcome, everybody, to episode 34 of PT Shop Talk. On today's episode, we do an article review on addressing rupture of the therapeutic relationship, as well as cover our top 5 tailgating necessities in celebration of the return of football. With me, as always, is Nick Kegstand Doling and Jeremy Huckett Chuckett Football Van Klompenberg. Football is upon us. Jeremy and I were talking off camera, off air, off cast, whatever you want to talk about fantasy football. Nick, you fantasy? You got folks playing tonight?
Yes, I do. Actually, my keeper from last year, Josh Allen, is playing.
I've got him in both leagues too.
Yeah, you think
led me to my championship last year, fellas.
Whoa.
Yeah,
he's good.
He's a flash in the pan.
Big shout out to my boy Brian Oman, classmate from USD. He has been our lonely commissioner for 15 years now, just slogging away, but keeping us on the up and up.
Yeah, that is a thankless job.
Solid PT up in the Metro too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, we started fantasy football when I was still in high school. I don't know when you guys started playing. But when we started fantasy football, we used to do it on paper, and we'd have to wait for the newspaper on Tuesday to grade our teams,
Man.
And then you just kind of had to trust that everybody else was scoring their own teams correctly. So
yeah,
that was an interesting. Only time I've ever won fantasy football was the first time I ever played. I had,
really?
Yeah, I had Marshall Falk and Kurt Warner in '98. It was a good year. Yeah,
cool.
Or 99. 99, I guess.
I've won twice. I want to say I won 2010 on the heels of Michael Vick and that awesome career resurgence they had with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Picked him up and rode him. I mean, he was putting up like on the regular 50 to 60 point weeks. It's hard to like lose when you got that going on.
Yeah.
And then last year I won with mainly, Josh Allen, but a pretty well-rounded team too.
Yeah.
Guys coming up. Like I had Dalvin. He was my first round draft pick last year, but he was so up and down, but it was like just good timing. Like when he was on, I happened to start him. Luck out there. So
and it's hard to beat running quarterbacks in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Especially if you like normal score quarterbacks where touchdowns are worth the same as they are for everybody.
Ooh.
You can score high.
Yeah.
I've been in some leagues where quarterbacks score 4 for a touchdown or whatever.
That's what we do for passing.
That's one of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. But the rushing is still 6. Yeah.
We like to score 200 plus points a game. You score for everything. It's exciting. I like that.
Yeah. So totally. What in addition to PPR?
So I'm in 2 different leagues. So the one league's just, straight scoring yards, touchdowns. It's all worth what it's worth. But my other league, we have like bonus. So, if you break long plays, you get bonus points. If you have, over 100 yards rushing, you get bonus. Over 150 yards, you get bonus. Those kind of things. So
you guys are foo league.
Ooh, look at that shirt.
Yeah, you like that?
You got is that the Jefferson and
NBA,
Cook?
NBA Jam style.
Dude, I was looking for that on Fanatics, and I had to go with a Cook and a Jefferson jersey instead. So
nice.
It just came in today. So that's a sick shirt.
I'm dialed in, boy.
It's happening.
Not to shift gears, but going up to the game, kind of recouping. That was my birthday gift for Michelle earlier. So
gonna be wild.
Yeah. 3:25 kickoff against the Pack. Gotta bring Connor and my father-in-law. It's gonna be awesome.
That is gonna be sweet.
Doling,
go
ahead.
Oh, just gonna be a late night.
I ran into you're right. A patient this week that grew up in Wisconsin, so we got to trade barbs a little bit, and
like it.
He yesterday. I walk out of my office and he's got a little Green Bay Packers flag hanging off the weight rack.
Oh, that's fun.
I was like, I love it. I love
that so much. When you're connected with patients like that, that's so cool.
He came out. I was like, call the police. We've been vandalized. And he just starts giggling. He's like, I don't know where that came from.
Oh, that's great stuff.
So even all the way in Michigan, you can't get away from Packers fans.
I'd have to
everywhere.
think the UP would be more Packer fans than like Lions fans. It kind of looked like when we drove through it, it looked like that, just from car decorations, vehicle crap.
I saw something. I didn't fact check it, but I don't know if it's because of Hard Knocks, but they said it's their first sellout game, standing room tickets only in like since 2017, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
The buzz is real around the Motor City Kitties.
Yeah, you got it. It's
hard to imagine there's a buzz there.
People don't realize that they cut out only the best stuff for Hard Knocks. Every team looks great on Hard Knocks.
Do they? I haven't watched Hard Knocks since like the Jets were on there, and it was Rex Ryan.
Ooh.
And he's just like every other word's like beep 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 beep.
Yeah, that's probably. I think that was maybe the last season I probably watched too. The NDSU had a kid on that team, and they like had him getting cut on Hard Knocks. It was like, oh, that's hard to watch. I don't know if I want to be a part of that anymore.
I remember they opened it, like one thing from that season, they opened it with, they always do a good job with like the audio, and they played the song Wrecking Ball by Bruce Springsteen. It's like a live version that he played. And they sync that with footage of like the old stadium in East Rutherford being demoed. Ooh. And how they're at the time they were moving to MetLife, which they split with the Giants. Mm. So that was really cool and really drew me in, even though I could care less about the Jets, really.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever cared about the Jets in any way, shape, or form.
Right? I mean,
you shouldn't.
No.
You shouldn't.
And we got. I got football. Just came from Connor's first football game. Tigers won 22 Goose over Brookings.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah. Big deal.
I get to coach Gunner's first football game Saturday.
Oh man, you got the plays drawn up?
That's got to be flag yet, right?
Flag. Oh yeah, he's yeah.
They're not giving them pads yet.
Little Pop Warner pads. No, we don't do Pop Warner here.
They do that out here.
Do you? You got Pop?
Yeah, it's like it's like first or second grade they're in.
Yeah.
Like in pads.
I'm not totally opposed to that. I used to feel really weird about it because in North Dakota, Casey, you remember this week, same thing. We did flag till like, I honestly think it was flag 4th, 5th, and 6th for a long time. And
we didn't even have flag. I mean, 7th grade was the earliest you could play football.
Yeah, pads were 7th, but
and you had to go from nothing to pads, right? Like that's kind of a hard thing transition to get used to. Yeah.
But I used to coach. I coached Connor's team for 3 years. There's usually 2 parents that can coach, two guys can coach, and all 3 years I volunteered to do it. Michelle signed me up, and you saw some.
Is that the same thing?
She runs it by me, and I'm like, first year I wasn't sure, but I have so much fun with that age. It's just fun. It's 7-on-7. You're just getting them exposed to it. That's good. But man, I saw some nasty collisions though at the flag level because they're not padded up, so they don't have any protection. But some of those kids, dude, I'm telling you, they're born with like killer instinct right away, and it doesn't matter. They might be going for flags, but they also don't have that body awareness and control. So they're just like taking angles and smoking other kids. And man, I saw some nasty ones. So my perspective's changed.
There's always that risk when you have really coordinated kids and really uncoordinated kids on the same field too. When half the team's going half speed and the other half's going full speed, that creates some issues.
And it's like anything else. You lump in like 2nd to 4th, there's a lot of development too, right?
Yeah.
So 4th graders really know a lot better body awareness. They're faster, they're bigger. Gunner's definitely going to be the smallest cat on the field, so try to keep him in a position to be successful, not get injured.
You have Spike carrying a fridge on his back in Little Giants. That's probably a little older than 4th grade, right?
I did see my roster though, and I already know who our hammer is going to be. He's like already, I think he's already got 3 state wrestling championships and he's a 4th grader. Kid's a beast.
Now, are they limited to their position based on size?
Nope, we rotate him around.
Okay.
Ideally, you do. You
Yeah.
try to give him exposure at all these different positions. I coached with one guy one year who never said it, but good Lord, he had his son play quarterback like 90% of the time for us. And I was volunteered to coach defense because that's what I'm most familiar with, and I don't want to get into a pissing contest with anybody. And I did have to before we get in the play, because they do have 1 day of playoffs to like have a champion. And sure, when we get to that level, when we get to that day, great. We're finally keeping score. We don't even keep score before that. So I'm like, yeah, we could try to win that, but let's still do some rotating in. Every game before that, though, we're not keeping score. Just let other kids, give them all exposure, give them all experience. Don't shut any kid off. We don't need attrition at this level. Get them exposed, get them, going. And man, so the second to last game, I did kind of bend his ear, and I'm like, we should probably be rotating kids in more. Who do you want me to put in next, right? Oh yeah, sure, yep, definitely. Senior kid, and he's not that great either.
I hear people around here saying those younger, like grade school grades, they're really limited on their position based on weight, which is kind of interesting because especially 4th, 5th, 6th grade, sometimes your best athletes are your biggest kids. So these kids that are likely to play quarterback, running back in high school end up having to play on the line because they're just the biggest kid on the team, even though they're the fastest kid and the most athletic kid, they have to play on the line, which is frustrates people.
So no matter so you're saying that even if he's the most athletic, but he's big, he's going to be on the line.
Yep. He falls into the height weight range, so he's got to play the line, just so you don't put a monster back there at running back just plowing kids over. Same with putting a huge kid in at safety, just laying kids out.
Would you have been old enough to remember the Hendrickson brothers from like County Central? They went. I think Luke went on to play at. Luke was a couple years older than me. Went to play at UND, and I thought Andy went to play at D line for the Bison. But he also might have went to UND. But we played them all through 7th grade on up to through senior year.
Yeah.
And Andy was their running back, and when he was a 7th grader, he was like 6'2" and 240. It was hilarious. He just carried
7th grade,
yeah, he was just a monster, and he would just carry dudes. They'd always trounce our team, and by the time he moved up to high school, they had him at the right spot, the best spots. So, like he was a nose guard, offensive tackle, like just a stud, all state. And I think, like I said, I think he went on to have a pretty decent career as like a D lineman for one of those 2 programs. I can't remember anymore, unfortunately. But it's funny. I think back to that though, like because
you wish you would have been on the line.
It was really funny, but we were that team though. I look back and I think we were coached well because we got skunked 7th and 8th. We didn't win a single game, but as we said here, by our senior year, we were like state runners up,
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, you follow the system, you believe in it, you train hard, and good things happen.
Yeah, we had 0 victories in 7th grade and 1 in 8th grade as well. So stick to it, play your positions.
Yep.
We tied a game as 8th graders, and we thought we won like the friggin' state title.
Did you hit the coach up with some Gatorade? You guys probably didn't have Gatorade, I suppose. We didn't either.
No, we didn't either.
No, we were water in a Gatorade jug.
Yeah, we had the Gatorade jug. I think they gave those to all the high schools. Gatorade is trying to sponsor, but
how much is it to buy the giant powdered stuff?
Bring your own water bottle. Did that before COVID.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was probably smart when I look back because kids were not the most hygienic kids with them water bottles, and we were all just blasting them.
Did y'all have like the PVC pipe with the holes drilled in it?
Yep.
As a watering,
sucked on, like mouth straight on it.
Well, you'd smack the guys that did that.
Yeah, you should.
Like you're supposed to just hold your mouth over it.
That's what we had for sure. Just hooked up to a garden hose.
Yep. There are always the new kids.
up on a couple trees, like just bracket it up to, a couple trees, and
Yeah, we had like a giant sawhorse thing ours was attached to, but
That's so funny how
that
similar
water
we
was
all grew up.
good though, man. That was like some of the best water out there.
That second,
Stayed
I was
cold.
talking to somebody else about that afternoon practice of 2-a-days. Swear to God, you've never been more dehydrated in your life till that.
Yeah.
Man,
Can't go back. Can't go back.
I know we can't go back, boys. We tried doing that.
Tried doing it a couple weeks ago. It was good. Yeah,
Eddie Money was right.
Yeah. Speaking of time, the Queen has passed away. Nick, did you know that? Are you familiar?
I did see the news break this morning. Yeah.
Ooh, that happened this morning. I just found out like 2 hours ago. I think Jeremy found out 10 minutes ago. He's still processing.
She was what,
No,
96?
I saw this morning that they were like monitoring her, but I didn't see. Yeah, I knew it was not good, but
yeah, I got like a news alert on my phone when she passed. I think they said she was 96.
Yeah, that's crazy. Rocking and rolling, running countries for 70 years. It's a long time. What do you even do? And is there like something special that happens when a queen dies? Is it like a Viking funeral? What do they do?
Dude, I'm sure that's gonna be big.
Huge.
Do they ring a bell? I don't know.
Do you remember the like Princess Di?
Oh yeah.
That was crazy. Like big
huge
processional.
Parade. Yeah. Not a parade.
I don't think they call it a parade.
So it's not like a ton of people celebrating that.
They weren't throwing out fruities and
yeah, they were making little floats.
Yeah, no, sorry. I don't mean to disparage the good name of Princess Di. Yeah, but it was a huge deal. I think, I thought a parade because you're at the processional that they air on TV that was just massive. And obviously the replaying of Candle in the Wind.
I'd probably say that a processional is kind of a parade. It's just not generally positive. Yeah. I would say it falls under that umbrella. I think you were safe.
Thanks, Jeremy.
I don't think so. Let's try. Yeah. Come out to the parade.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting because I assume for the Queen they have to one up Princess Di's whole deal, right? I mean, you got to go above and beyond.
I don't know if you think it will be
25. Isn't that like 25 years ago too? I think
forever ago, right?
Yeah. Do you think it can be
97?
I think it was. I think this year was the 25th anniversary of that.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Jeez. 25 years.
Yeah, like man, King Charles. I was telling Jeremy that's a weird thing to say. I've said Prince Charles my whole life. It's just weird, you know. You
wonder too, though. You know, as you're saying, like, I wonder what like that type of royalty even does anymore. Is it just positional and there's really no function anymore to it?
Yeah, actual parades, I think, is pretty much all they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all ran by Parliament and
I don't even know. Do they go to
Minister.
Parliament? Is like Parliament something they hang out at? I know nothing about Europe, and I know we have one listener from the UK, according to Spotify. So if you're listening,
hit us up.
Hit me up. Facebook, ptshoptalk@gmail. Let me know. I don't know. I don't know what the Queen does. If I'm gonna be honest.
You know what you know what I think she does? I think she works on relationships.
What?
I think that's her key job.
Even ruptures? When there's
she sure as heck doesn't want to rupture it. No.
She works to heal the rupture. And if that relationship happens to be therapeutic, well, hey, then we're in good standing with the Queen.
Might not even have to use ultrasound.
God save the Queen.
Perfect. There's no saving her now, man. You're too late.
R.I.P.
You missed it. You missed your chance.
Too soon, man.
Sex Pistols were like calling for that decades ago.
Yeah, they just missed it by about 40 years. So yeah, let's move on to our little article review. This isn't really a research article per se, but a little more of a viewpoint, a discussion topic, anyways, which I think be a pretty good one. Probably a quick convo, I'm guessing, unless we get into the weeds a little bit on some of this stuff. But I think it's valuable. Yeah, I mean, we usually stay so solid on task. our 1 hour podcast has been pretty much spot on since
Epic.
day one. Yeah. So I don't know, Nick, you want to lead this one? Jeremy, I don't remember which one of you guys kind of chose this as a article to look at, talk about. But
Well, I should look through the text chain because I think I snapped
You
a
did
pic
it.
of it.
You did.
But I think somebody said it or just covered it with their staff.
I did.
That was you, Gary.
Yeah.
So
come on, Gare. You can fire it out. I
so
like that. Pretend
And
like
I
you're
talked-
staff.
I already apologized to the listeners out there. I apologized on it off air to my comrades here for my red ass attitude last week and my bitchiness. So I promise I'm not going to be the same, and I'm not going to get over everything. So Jeremy, please take it away.
It's good. It brings some spice to the conversation.
I was too salty. I was like, I don't even want to listen to it back.
People always say they enjoy that. They enjoy when I crap on things. That seems to be popular with people. They like when you get mad. It's what the people want. Jeremy, they just
do.
like you all the time. You're just the heart.
I try to be a nice person. I don't know.
I think you're a good leveler for
So
us.
by default, I'm not. Okay.
Well, we know where I sit. I don't hide that.
VR goggles.
Yeah, that's the world I live in.
Well,
what do
Jeremy,
you got?
do you feel good with it, or
I do.
Is it calling you?
So I was gonna pull it up again too. Just give me, if I miss anything, just buzz me in here.
well, I could kind of
they're
tee
big.
up. Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
you
you
know
take
what?
it away. I want you to take it away.
I think my takeaway on
Good
it was
production
that,
value.
right. You do it. No, you do
We're
it.
totally
you do it.
prepared. We're
I
totally
should've-
prepared.
Probably should have asked that question before we started. I'm sorry, listeners.
Promise you guys.
It was behind the scenes.
So, right,
BTS.
And I was actually going to ask you this too, Casey, right? Like, they talk about how much we focus on kind of patient-centered care, therapeutic relationships in PT, right? And in PT school. And basically just looking at like, hey, there's the opposite side of that too. We also have always the potential, for friction in any relationship. And basically saying that in therapy, it's no different. So how do we recognize it? I would say to a certain degree, like, how do we avoid it? How do we recognize it if it occurs? And then how do we fix it? And I know we had a little bit of dialogue about this, Nick, too. And my takeaway would just be a human, right? But just be a human.
It's easier said than done for some people.
It is. It definitely is. And
so when you say, but elaborate for our listeners, when you say be a human, what does that mean? Because our listeners, viewers haven't read this article. They don't know. We're kind of giving a general kind of overview. So what are they really talking about? What's the therapeutic relationship that they're talking about? What's the example of how a rupture happens?
So in terms of, that's a piece that I wanted to pull up. Do you have that, Nick? Just
Yeah,
that
I
box
do.
with the small little examples?
Yeah. So, they talk about like between a patient and a therapist and disagreement on goals, disagreement on like basically treatment interventions, approaches and stuff like that. And the relationship, I don't want to go to, I feel like if I go any further, I'm going to share my own bias and I'm going to share my own like feeling on the overall view of the article. But basically how to I think the key is, though, again, the key would be recognizing it. I think their self-awareness piece is very big here.
Yeah.
Particularly the lack of self-awareness, social awareness, knowing when somebody's being disconnected from you, disengaged from their treatment. So that's a little bit of it, and how if you don't have that type of relationship, you probably can't expect good outcomes.
Yeah, and I think just to piggyback on that again for listeners too, and you talk about a rupture, that's just something that strains your relationship. And really it takes two forms, right? You confront, which is I suppose what most of us would probably think of like a strain to a relationship, like, hey, especially in therapy, if we're going to talk about therapy, like, I don't think what we're doing is right, or it's not working, or, I'm not happy
very direct
with
very
what you're
confrontational.
doing. Yep. I'm not getting better. I'm getting worse. But I think the other end of that is that like passive rupture. And I think that's probably
More
this is
common.
my experience, more common and harder to recognize.
100%.
Where like the patient becomes disengaged, how's it feeling? That's fine. Or it's the same, right? They don't necessarily give you that. How are your exercises going? They're okay. How often do you get them in? I get them in when I can. That just that disengagement, and I think that this article really, we could talk about that, as we get into it, but really points that as probably an area we need to look back on ourselves a little bit, and I think that's probably the value in talking about this from a therapist standpoint, and probably just from a relationship standpoint. All of us these ruptures are not exclusive to therapy.
No, I think we hit on this before, where because some of the best material that like a newer therapist or any therapist could go through is, additional leadership development skills, because so much of that's about how do you interact with people in general. That's been super valuable, and I really think that's why patients respond. I'm just saying typically they respond very well to therapists who are in leadership positions, like at that manager level or above. And I used to have a person I really respect. He used to always kind of refer to that as, they think they're getting special treatment because they get the boss, right? But I used to, so for a while I prescribed to that, but now I kind of think it's just more like, I don't know, maybe number one, I think we probably have some experience there too and comfort, but maybe just more experience, more development in the leadership side, where we can communicate better with people, we can read people better, because you're used to doing it with your own staff, or you should be. That's just a theory though.
Well, and that's like this whole time I was reading this article, like I just kept thinking of like 5 dysfunctions of a team, all those skills we learn as leaders. I mean, that's kind of what that's about too, in a lot of ways, is ruptures and how a rupture isn't bad, right? And that the article gets into that, and I think there's value in that too. They quoted at some point in the article saying something along the lines of
the level of tension, right? They grade it.
Yep, but then but they just even quote at some point, we have to realize that we can't live in a rupture-free world, right?
Yes, no. Correct.
And if you're probably in a relationship with somebody, whether it's patient, staff, family members, and you feel like you're in this rupture-free world, they don't necessarily specifically say that, but I think it's like, well, maybe you need to.
You're missing the boat.
You're maybe missing the boat a little bit, right? Like we just don't live in those worlds. There's just no perfect relationship out there where you two are on the same page, with the same viewpoint, with the same goals, and you get there. I mean, we match up with some of our patients pretty darn well, and they probably get along pretty well and reach their goals regardless of rupture or not. But I think that's kind of a cool thing to think about too, like just recognizing it. They talk about that as you get better at dealing with ruptures. First thing is to recognize they exist and recognize them in yourself.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I think ultimately it comes down to trust, right? In any of like potential ruptures, I think the situation is always going to be a little bit more tenuous if you lack trust, right?
Yeah.
If somebody is already like, I don't really know about this guy, and then it's just like,
you
again,
go prove them right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, if we're, again, if it's like, don't confuse your Google search with my doctorate, and you want ultrasound, it's like, again, it's not that you can't deliver that information, but how is it delivered, right? And with what kind of eye contact, and with what kind of tone, and how are you matching? And there's just that art of conversation where I again would say be a human, but again, it's easy to get caught up in the day, right? We always talk about the whirlwind of the day, so it's easy to have a patient that went late, and oh man, now I'm trying to dig into this note while I think this patient is doing something else, but that next patient's always watching, right? Like, so how do we become present all the time and give people a high level experience all the time? So
and still get everything done. I know I kind of felt that a little bit this week, is just some paperwork stuff piling up, like, so definitely on my computer a little bit more with patients, just trying to stay ahead of everything. And I mean, you get that feel, man, that a little bit of that empathetic discord, they talk about that a little bit, like if somebody's telling you something that's not good and you're like, oh yeah, that's too bad. Like, I mean, if somebody's hitting you with something, like, you put the computer away for 2 seconds.
Correct.
Make that eye contact. You don't, I'm not saying you need to not do point of service all the time with a patient, but like, feel the moment out, right? Like, man, it was a real hard night last night, or I didn't sleep. It's okay to like slide the computer away for 30 seconds and look them in the eye. Like, tell me about
not just okay, neat, like that should be like the status quo, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
so I think that's sometimes hard for people to grasp. So you get caught up in your own whirlwind again, like you said.
Or again, like, they're so disconnected. They're trying to tell you something like that's very, they're giving you everything you need to know to lead you, in one intervention approach. And yet you're so wrapped up in what you're doing in the moment. I just saw this the other day, and you're going to turn around and ask. So then you're asking questions completely like unrelated to it, but it's like what you're just sticking to on your own treatment philosophy. So the same thing,
Yeah, I think they kind of mentioned that. And that's like that patient directed too, like, oh, I'm really having a hard time getting out of bed or something because my back pain's flared up. Okay. And then like you don't address that at all during your session. Right. Like, okay, well,
yeah, like the therapist turns around like, but how's your walking?
Yeah. Or, okay, trouble getting out of bed. All right, let's like hit the gym and work on our sit to stands, or like, all right, let's get our core exercises in. And you can do core or you can do sit to stands, but like at least try to justify, like, based on what they told you, like, oh, okay, we'll work on core exercises that might help engage the muscles we're using when we're getting out of bed, or dressing it that way, or even get on the bed and just work on rolling with them, even if it's for a little bit and you don't think it's maybe the big thing. For your patient right then, it's problem one. It's P1, that's what you got to worry about.
And it just, again, shows like, hey, they're listening to me. Hey, what I said mattered. And that is more important than anything that we could ever come up with and trying to weight a treatment and like how effective was this. To me, taking that 3 minutes to be like, hey, cool, like, I know we're working on your ankle, I know we're working on your shoulder, but let me show you a couple things we can work through for that back, and then we'll get going. And God, it should be so simple, but again, it's just, it takes practice, it does. I shouldn't necessarily say practice, but intentionality. And being present. So
I think people can improve at it, but I also think, I've said this before, I think some people are naturally gifted at social skills.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
And that's he's not naturally gifted, but because obviously by the time you're looking at our ages, you've had a lot of life experience, and stuff creates those forms, those patterns for you. But I think it's inherent in a lot of people too. And then other people, man, Jeremy, we used to talk about this a lot, where I used to just like walk by somebody and just be like, hey, just go engage your patient for a while. And it would usually happen after we would have our documentation audits or internal audits, and the pendulum would swing so hard into, writing epitaphs for assessment tomes, right? Like
great
7, 8, 9 sentences long. And yet there'd be no discussion with the patient. They're just like, I literally walk by and see patients like looking up at the ceiling, staring, like actively trying to show that they're bored out of their mind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta still show them that you care,
Yeah. Don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah. On the big picture, it makes you kind of frustrated with, insurance companies that do audit that stuff and double check everything you're doing. And if you didn't, Casey, we've been on some of those too, where they're like, well, you need to document as to why you're coding it that way, right? You need to make sure you're writing all that down, and you're like, come on. But then I'm looking, well, unfortunately, there's been some crappy stuff that therapists have done throughout the years that have kind of led to these, but I don't think it's the right fix either. I really don't think it's the right fix to what they've identified as fraudulent billing practices.
Yeah. I mean, that administrative burden, I don't think it's helping anybody. I mean,
like document more just to prove that you worked with your patient.
Well, yeah, it was like, this is sore going off rails. I'm sorry. But like, I just had that happen today with like an insurance company. Like I was working on floor to waist lifting with the patient, 20 pounds. right?
Yeah.
Oh, I consider that a therapeutic activity.
Yes, it's coded lift and carry. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Lift and
denied
or carry.
because I didn't justify how that related to their life function. It's
You
like,
know, they're
why
just-
were you
no.
doing a floor to waist lift? It's like, because they were like you have to lift objects
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the floor to your waist. Well, what specifically are they doing that requires them to do that? It's like, it blows my mind. Anything.
Yeah. Go into their garage. Pick up,
Laundry, putting
you
stuff
want them to get injured
away,
again. I mean,
groceries.
do you want them to re-injure, right?
Yeah, do you want them to be
trying-
afraid to pick something off the floor? Like,
Yeah,
it's
pick up their
so
basket, laundry basket, yeah.
frustrating for them to be like, well, you just didn't justify that as a therapeutic activity.
Which company was this?
Work comp.
Oh my gosh, that's getting bad. Hopefully you win that in the long run.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll see.
Dang, that's silly. That should be the most obvious thing too. But that's, and I don't think you're getting off the rails because these are the distractions that therapists, not just leaders, but therapists have to deal with.
Yeah.
And they can really create fissures between you and the patient, right? That was what
because now I'm gotta sit there with the patient and go, oh, this is simulating lifting 5 pairs of jeans in their laundry basket to the bed so they can fold them.
My gosh.
And like,
but it should just
be
some of that
all
stuff should just be inherent, right? It should be inherent as to like why we're doing that.
Yeah, like a floor to waist lift should inherently tell you I'm working on lifting things off of the floor to waist height. Like, those should be functional.
So, in order to do this, like you need to write that for every single intervention. That's unrealistic too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's just like, it depends on the reviewers. 2 sessions later, the patient came and said, I'm doing well, but I feel like I get a catch when I come from sitting to standing still. Okay, like let's do some sit to stands and see if we can adjust things, move things around, maybe just, start at a higher height, lower it down, grade your exposure to it. I mean, like did 2 or 3 sets of sit to stands just from different varying heights with some different foot position. I coded that as therapeutic activity and they paid for that without question. So, it's like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. Yeah. I just said sit to stands, 3 sets of 10 or whatever. And they're like, yep, nailed it.
Yeah.
But a floor to waist lift, pretty much the same thing. They're like, no,
you should definitely win that though. That's so silly.
Yeah. It's weird. It's just like this one case. I don't know why they're picking on me with this one person, but
case, this is switching gears a little bit too, but like, what do you guys do in school for that? Like, are you guys actively trying to teach those interactions at all, or is that left to CIs, or like how much weight do you guys put on that on the education side?
Are you talking about interactions like therapeutic alliance interactions?
Yeah.
I think we spend that's pretty much like the large majority of the class I'm involved in is, we do case studies, and then it's like based on, what you think your diagnosis is, we go through the exam, you try to prove it, we give them the information, and then it's like, all right, how do you treat this patient? What do you choose? Like, and you better not, and we just talked about this, you better not just choose Pilates because that research article said that was the best thing for back pain, right? Like, I need you to give me, specifics. And I mean, we just did a whole body interventions today where we talked about P&E and we talked about addressing biopsychosocial issues and how we need to ask these with patients. We need to address them. We need to be prepared if we ask those questions, how to address them. But
so is it a lot of like, is it a lot of just like, that's one big group project, or is it like someone's in the thick of it, like role playing type stuff, or
do a little bit of role playing? Obviously you break out into groups and, we do a lot of that. All right. Patient, we did it today with the back pain patient. They come in spine stiff, afraid to bend, afraid to move. How do you deal with the patient? What do you ask them? How do you take that fear away? We probably don't get so far in the weeds of like these ruptures. Although I had that today, I was doing P&E, so I was doing stories, and I just picked a kid in the class, and he was like the just completely passive as the patient, and it was like, okay, I see where you're going with this. So I had to like deal with the passive patient and try to do the P&E at the same time, which is kind of tough because then somebody asks like, well, what do you do in the clinic when they're like that? And I'm like, you move on. That's maybe the wrong message at the wrong time, but I had to get through this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's so the
dynamic.
reason I ask, it is. And you know, what I'll see a lot of times too is that in a group setting, like you tee up some of those questions and people can come up with the right answers. You know, it's like, well, why would you do this? Oh, I know why I would do this. But then the actual delivery in the moment, it's like, well, you had the what, but we're still really needing to work on the how, you know, how that was actually delivered. And, you know, obviously, like you can't go over everything in school, and that's part of the you know, self-development learning process too. But I'm just curious if that's, you know, changed at all in the decades since we've been in school too, you know?
Yeah, you know, our whole semester, this semester is really focused on like the PDDM, pain and disability drivers models and things like that. So we are trying to address these things. And we do a lot of, all right, how would you talk to this patient? And one person talks to me in class. All right, good job. What did they do wrong? What could have been better? All right, somebody else try it now that you've been given some of this. Let's just keep building on it, you know?
I like that. Yeah.
So you give kids that opportunity to critique each other and help each other out. But like you said, you don't want to just say, hey, everybody in the room, what would you do in this case? And, you know, you kind of guide them and lead them. And it's interesting when you have to have them come up to the front and one person's a patient, one's the PT, and like talk through this with them. All right, now as the patient, like tell them, no, I don't believe you. What do you do now? You know, like some of that scenario stuff. Do we do enough of it? I think so. Just from an entry level standpoint, you know, that, and I think we struggle with that when we teach classes, like what's entry level and what is, you know, I've been, you know, out for 12 years. Like I probably shouldn't expect the students to be, you know, on the same level as I am, but in your mind, you want them to be, right? You like everybody should be as good as I am. When I take students, I want them to be as good as I am. I want to give them everything to be there, but that's some of that stuff takes time.
Yeah, completely. So that's good stuff.
But some people, you know, latch on easier, like we said, and those ones really stand out. Those are a blessing, you know, to have in your practice, and they're always kind of fun to have students, and then hopefully, God willing, you get them in as, you know, somebody who works with you.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, nothing feels better for me than to take a student who becomes an employee who rock stars. It doesn't happen all the time.
100%.
Man, that feels good. Oh boy.
Feeling the fuzzies. Yeah. And this is a kudos because Jeremy had those right away.
Oh, look at them little hands.
Little hands.
This is the story of the hurricane.
Yeah. But I used to always say too, like I'd always, and I still apply this, Casey, we talked about this with front office staff too the other day, but coachable people, like, I mean, I think every therapist is going to come out with a baseline level of education and didactically, and assuming they pass their boards, that's all pretty standardized. That's great to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if you're a student and you happen to be listening, I really don't care what your GPA was. I really don't. If you're 4.0 or you're 3.8, I really, really don't give two shits. But
have you ever checked a student's GPA?
No.
Me either.
I mean, it's on resumes. I mean, they'll put it on res.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know, but if they're like, if they're showing up and like just able to innately connect with patients, educate patients, and have that type of prowess, man, that's no brainer.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't take GPA because you get to know in class, like which kids do well on tests and things like that. And, you know, that just, boy, after hanging out with them though, you'd like, hey, that just stuff just doesn't matter that much. And I'm sure you guys had those kids in your class when you were in PT school that were like, got A's on every test. And you're like, I would never let you touch me. Like you had them in lab and their skills are poor and, you know, they get nervous and they freeze up. But, you know, they take a test fine. You know, they take their boards great. They study well. I mean, there is some of that, you know.
It's a different style learning. Yeah, different style.
I would never let you touch me.
Very clammy hands. No,
Mm.
but yeah,
Both
I
hands, warm
hope,
hearts.
and a lot of those kids I'm thinking of, they're still therapists. So you grow and you adapt and you find the settings you excel at.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember we had
Just
this
don't come to outpatient.
Yeah.
we had this student who came through and was like, I was getting to know, she was under another CI, and I think I was managing it. I was already managing the practice and got to know her towards the end of it. And like, what are you passionate about? And she's like, well, I really just want to, my favorite was like my favorite class and stuff like that. And it's like, research. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, and it kind of fit. I mean, it's funny how much it fit the clinical presentation, because just scanning her, like she never seemed like she was ever working with patients. It was always like her CI, and she's like still watching even as a third year. And I'm kind of like, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you go work somewhere else. Good for you. Yeah.
Go find a lab.
Go find that university and go work there. But that's kind of scary too, right? Because that's where some of that evidence, a lot of the evidence comes from, is just like lifelong educators who haven't actually been clinically doing stuff.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, where these pragmatic researches now that are coming out are maybe going to have some value to them for us. We'll see.
Yep. Story we've dabbled into before, story for another day, but that was a good little rehab talk. Now we're on football season, fellas.
Woo, woo, woo. Man, time for that top 5 tailgating necessities. Now, before we get into this, like, are you guys tailgaters? A
little bit, not as much as I used to.
We talking college, NFL, high school, Pee Wee?
Jeremy, you go. I
2-year-olds.
I have not been a big tailgater. I would have said in college I did. Stanks.
I've weaned off. I've had some fun Mustang tailgates. I mean, just like hanging through the lot. I mean, it's what we got here, so I mean, you make the most of it, right?
That was the one thing though. Right before COVID, we went to Michigan, Ohio State, and that's a tailgate.
Yeah,
that's how you tailgate.
Yes, that's what I want.
So then I was like, a couple things. I'm like, God, why am I 35? And then 2, it's just
can't
like,
get away from it.
No, you can't.
Have you ever done some like NFL game tailgates though?
I haven't, because
it's a softer vibe. It's nice.
The one game that I went to, you talk about it being a late night, and it was an early morning. It was a noon game. It was like the toe tap game of the 49ers when Favre was there.
Oh, yeah. Greg Lewis.
We got up at 5:30 to go to the game, and then it was just like, you're already kind of like, I don't know, you look at the day and you're like, well, we still got to come home after this. It was just a challenge. I'm like, to do that, to do it right, I feel like you got to be like, we're taking Sunday night, we're coming home on Monday.
True. And that's like my favorite NFL tailgate in a moment was that same season, going to the Cowboys playoff game.
Yeah.
The divisional round one, because that was a little bit, it's just like playoff game start times are a little off.
Yeah.
I think it was like 1:30 instead of noon. So we got there, we drove up in the morning, but we were staying overnight, and that was awesome. Like you're 100% when you have to commute, it's a different story if you got to drive back home.
Especially that far.
Right? Yeah, that atmosphere was fun though. It was, we got some good stuff in before the game. But so I can start.
Yeah, fire it up.
I was but with that being said, I was leaning heavily on my college days, on some memories and some of the funnest stuff. So I'm going to start out pretty light and easy with some fun fare, and kind of had a toss up between beanbags and football. I'm a football guy, so getting a little game of catch in. sometimes a single hand catch because you can't drop the thing in your other hand. I'll maybe get to that later. But just having a little football to toss around in the lot. So that's my number 5, little activity.
You go Nerf football or you go real deal?
Real
Gotta
deal.
be real deal.
Real deal.
Gotta be the real deal.
Yeah.
Just pegging little kids that walk by, all that stuff.
Nah.
Are
real
you the
deal.
kind of folks that go like 4 spots over and you're just throwing it like over the crowd and stuff?
It seems like it always evolves that way, right?
Yeah,
like you start out and you're throwing some little like 15
5-yarder,
yarders, you know,
yeah.
and then you start separating, and then somebody's got to show off their cannon, right? And it's like they're always waving.
Yeah, keep going. I'll
Yep.
never be able to throw that far.
Back up,
Keep
and then it doesn't
going.
get caught. It's like inevitably going to bounce in some weird cockeyed direction into somebody else's like barbecue pit. Oh, sorry. Oh, that shit looks good. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, got the ball back.
Take a couple shrimps on my way out. Mind me. All
Oops.
right, I like it. Yeah, that's a short lister for me. The old football.
Mhm.
Yeah, same. You got a case, or you want to go next?
Sure, got no problem. Yeah, I'm a pretty hefty tailgater. I would say this year is probably not going to happen much just with stuff going on. But I mean, I've been a season ticket holder for NDSU for
Very nice.
14 years. So we tailgate.
Are you a dress-up guy?
I wear a jersey. It's about the only time
Yeah.
I wear a jersey. Is
Yeah.
to go to the game. I'm not like a big jersey outside of going to a game kind of guy. It's never
Same.
been my
I didn't-
style.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you were like a buffalo head hat guy.
Nah,
Or
I don't do
something
the
crazy
Shout
other
out
like that.
Buffalo, Jeremy.
Cape. Yeah, it is a buffalo.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing. I like to dial in when I'm at the game. I don't want a lot of crap on me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a student of the game when I'm at the
Yeah.
event. But
Ooh,
so
ooh.
my list probably comes a little more like as I'm older, what I feel like I need to tailgate successfully, because we have reserved tailgating spots and we've been through the whole gamut. When we started, it was literally back at the pickup by the Tree Rose at the Fargo Dome. They
Yeah.
paved Paradise, put up a parking lot later, and then we had an RV. Then we moved to.
Was it green?
Some green and yellow on it. Some piping,
Ooh,
some styling, a little air
Okay.
horn in it. We used to use just like a blue tarp when weather got bad. And then we progressed to a city bus, and then we had like a charter bus for a while, but that is not a necessity because that sucker, those things are a hassle, if I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
Unless you can buy
Good to
like a
know.
brand new charter bus that you don't have to like mess with all
Good
the
to
time
know.
for hundreds of thousands of dollars, not worth it.
So lost right now. What is?
An ambulance?
I'm like, are we talking? Is
We
that
had
part
an
of your top
ambulance at
five?
one point.
Is the
You
vehicle your
did?
top 5?
No, I haven't even gotten to my top 5. I'm giving background. I'm giving
okay.
ambiance.
I was like,
building a therapeutic relationship with everybody
I was
listening.
just like, for a while there, I'm like, okay.
Thanks for the rupture, Nick.
Is it the Winnipeg? I'm trying. I'm actively listening. I'm just trying to keep up.
Nick, how do you feel like this is going for us right now?
I feel like it's going pretty well.
Good. That's how I feel too. My number 5 has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It's a nice queso dip. It's like the only.
Yep.
I am not like a huge food at tailgating guy.
Same.
I like to eat a little bit before I come up to, because you can tailgate 4.5 hours before the game. So I like to have a little breakfast, then come up to the game. And I don't want to be full and gross because I'm just kind of already full and
Totally
gross as a human being. So I don't want to add to that. So, but I do like something to munch on. So yeah, a little chip and queso. Easy to throw that in a little bowl, hold it by me, dip once in a while. I feel like I'm getting a little food in. Simple, easy,
little
crock
sustenance.
pot. Yeah. That's my number 5.
I like it. I only have one food on mine as well. I'm like the same thing. I don't want to overly indulge there.
I've got 2.
Yeah, I don't want to
Way
ruin
too
my
full.
list, but that's my only food.
I've got 2.
All right. What do you got, Jeremy?
My number 5, I don't have a Winnebago. I don't have an ambulance. I don't have a coach bus. I don't
Airplane?
have a pop-up camper.
One of those water boats?
The Learjet's on order. But no, my number 5 is a good breakfast. If you're gonna tailgate right, You know,
Yep.
I want something hearty. I want some eggs. I want some sausage. Give me some hash browns.
So you're just a little different from Casey and myself.
Yeah, you want to be full and gross.
I'm not trying to be full and gross. I'm not trying to be full and gross. I'm just like trying to get a little base in there because that 4 hours can get a little dicey, you know.
You put eggs and sausage and hash browns in front of me, I'm getting full and gross.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeremy. We don't all have that level of self-control that you have.
I don't think he's got self-control. This dude just doesn't get full.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lucky.
I've seen it. But I agree though. I'm like, Kate, if it's there though, I'm definitely gonna dish up a little bit. You know,
I'll 100% eat everything.
Try to get that bait. You know, I'm like, because you're right. You know, moving on to my number 4, I need the base because my number 4, and I haven't done this at a tailgate in a long time. Brought back some fun memories, but it's shotgunning beers. Having a beer to shotgun.
So I wasn't far off with kickstand doling when I gave you the nickname today.
And see who can win said race, right? And unfortunately, oftentimes it didn't end at 1. Right? It's like
it never does.
There's usually a little bit of a kerfuffle, maybe a debate between who truly finished it, how much was left in there, how big you made your keyhole, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, looks pretty foamy. You get that a lot.
There might be another member of the crew that takes umbrage to your speed, and now they want to throw their hat in the ring, right? It's like, yep, all the above, but it's fun. I can remember just having a blast hitting those up. So that's my number 4, shotgunning / keying beers.
All right. My number 4 definitely arrives from being an older man. And again, from tailgating at NDSU games, typically that goes well into the season where we're talking November, December, tailgated for playoff games when it's been 30 below. So you definitely need some sort of heater. I like to be warm. You guys know me. I'm 3/4 when it's 80 out. So when it's
psychopath
50 out, I need a heater. Yeah, I need a heater out there. Because I'd rather be by the heater and be a little lighter than have to wear like gloves and hats and coats and all this stuff and like boots with 8 levels of socks. Because eventually I'm going to go into the game.
I was gonna say, so do you just ditch it and then hightail it in there as fast as you can?
Well, that's why you need the heater, so you don't have to ditch all that crap.
Like, okay, so you just don't layer up at all. You don't. You just.
I prefer not to. I'll do the Under Armour thing. Base layer Under Armour, not too bad when you get into the dome, but I'm not like 5 wool socks and like 4 gloves and all that stuff. I just jacket, undershirt, base layer, boom. Again, if you have a heater, if you don't, you're in trouble. I don't know, ruins the game. Because I almost never tailgate without going to the game afterwards. I don't know if I've ever tailgated without going to the game. Lots of people do.
For you.
But
I've done that plenty of times up there. Yeah. Because tickets are hard to come by too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Being a season ticket holder, if I'm up there, I'm going. So yeah.
Dust it off. My shoulders off.
It's a good move.
No big deal. Humble brag.
Yeah.
All right. Good call.
Heater.
My number 4 harkens back to my younger years as well. And that's when I used to enjoy a nice game of pong. Play a little beer pong.
Pretty good. Were you good?
Yeah, because I was a basketball player. That's what everyone would say. Oh, geez, you play basketball. That must be what happened. So.
I think your wingspan.
When you can just
help.
reach your hand and drop it into the cup.
I've heard that's not all, fair, guys.
Because most people are just going to pay attention to your body, and your body's still behind the table.
I'll even keep my release behind the table. It's not a big deal. I mean,
you're too competitive. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying either. So I ain't hating on you.
I'm not hating either. You can be honest with us, Jeremy. Lots of cheating, I assume.
It's been a decade. It's been a decade probably since I've played that game. But I bet I could still do it. So.
Yeah.
Time to dust it off.
Dust it off.
Annual BST beer pong tournament.
I was thinking I got to meet up with you and tailgate sometime up there, Casey. One of these games. We should look
Anytime,
at some
man.
dates.
You should come
Yep.
up for the Jacks game. I think there's some other BST folks coming up from the Brookings side for that.
That
game.
would be a blast.
So.
Just don't bring gloves; they'll make fun of you.
I noticed when I was in Sullivan's office that freaking jackrabbit. They even try to make him look tough with a little growly snare, but it doesn't work when it's a bunny.
Pretty weak. I'd agree.
Grouchy bunny.
Well, good, Jeremy. I still think you were probably using your leverage as an advantage, but
agreed.
Yeah,
It's all good.
my number 3. Boy, and I was torn on this because there's lots of good food. I like a lot of food, but I'm a very simple guy when it comes to tailgating, and I will eat the hell out of a brat on a bun. It's fairly clean. You know, some guys like wings. You know, wings are always like this proverbial tailgate food, but
Not
I don't
in public.
want slimy, sticky hands as I'm going to spend the rest of the day, you know, doing stuff, being interactive with people. I just don't want that. I don't want the napkin, the little portion of napkin that sticks to your fingers.
Nope.
You know, as you're trying to wipe it. I don't always carry wet naps, so yeah. But I like a brat. I like it. You can walk. It's portable. You walk around with it.
Yeah, you don't even need a plate.
Nope.
Correct. You can hold your beer in one hand. You hold your brat in the other. You got. I'm a big mustard guy. Ketchup, I'm on the fence. Ketchup, I can take or leave with the brat, but I love mustard.
Are you like a fancy mustard man? Are you like one of those guys that like, oh yeah,
give me some
Heinz?
I mean, I like it. I like
spicy
a
brown
little Dijon, and I like spicy brown, but I can be just fine with like some yellow.
Classic yellow.
Yep.
No, not a bad call. I like a good brat too. My number 3 harkens from college all the way through my current age is I think to tailgate properly you need some sort of signature drink, whatever that happens to be, an event that everybody can participate in, whether it's shotgunning beers or like we have currently, you know, some folks that mix up their own booze and then they bring it in, and that's, you pass it around in the little shot glasses and we cheer and everybody.
A little toast.
Yeah, a little toasty toast.
It was on my short list, was a toast.
Yep. So that kind of brings everybody together, gets everybody fired up, you know, at the little area gets a little quiet. You pass those around, watch the kids, of course. So as we get older, there's a lot more kids now tailgating.
Yeah.
But even when we were younger, you know, I had this massive flask that held like a gallon of booze, and we used to do like mystery booze in there. I'd fill it up with something different every week, and you'd pass that thing around until it was gone. That was always fun. Again, that was pre-COVID when you could just slobber all over that thing and pass it to the next person. We have we still to this day have a playoff tradition. Long story, cut it short. But back when NDSU was like the first major semifinals game that was really close, where NDSU beat Georgia Southern to go to the championship, back when Derek McKinnon was with them. Sure. I donated blood that morning. I tailgated all day. I drank a bottle of Hot 100. Passed out at tailgating, ended up passing out my buddy's pickup. Another one of my buddies had to take me home. I missed the entire game. From that point on, it became the tradition that before every playoff game, we would finish a bottle of Hot 100. So it's just funny, but only in the playoffs. My body can't handle that season long.
It's like a good winter-only drink.
100%, right? Everybody takes a little hit out of it. It goes pretty quick. The only danger is when they have the night games that are like at 7, and I don't get up to tailgating till 5:30, 6. You gotta put
that's
some work
into that
Friday night
bottle. Game though, ain't it?
Yeah,
man, that's fun. That's
fun. Super fun, especially again when it's winter and it's dark out and they're
coming up to Fargo. There you
in
go,
your little tent, just hammering some booze out.
Yeah,
that's a blast. So yeah, signature drink of some kind. I don't care what it is. You got to have something fun that everybody takes part in that likes to drink.
Yeah, rock and roll, man. The only thing I'd say, I'm actually a little bit more of a 100 guy than the Hot 100.
I like the burn. Burn. I know a lot of folks, the Fireball seems to be way more popular than Hot 100.
It is crazy popular.
I'm a Hot 100 guy. To me, Fireball, even though it's less alcohol, tastes worse, I think.
I'm just not a cinnamon in general, not really the cinnamon. I'll sip on it, or I'll pour it in like a little toddy, with some cider, like spiked cider.
Well, if you come up to a football game, you better make sure it's not a playoff game then.
We're doing it. We're gonna.
You got it now.
Maybe I'll make 2 now. I know my way to Fargo. Let's do it. Make it happen.
We'll do one of the Friday games. Let's take a Friday afternoon off. Meet up here. You take all day Friday off. I'll take a half day.
Let's freaking do it. Jeremy, where are you at, homie?
My number 3, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I've got bags in football. You gotta have those games going on.
You have both. You're saying both?
Yeah. I didn't want to take up 2 spots with them.
Or do you do a mini football into the corner?
Make a decision, man.
I'm a real football.
This is the Disney franchise all over.
Hey, wait a second. Why can Casey
every Marvel movie?
Why can Casey have I don't care whatever you want for a signature drink, but can't have
signature
bags
drink. You have to choose one.
But Gary, it was like, I think this is a Casey story where it's the long way around. I think he was going on with his story about the signature, but it landed on Hot 100.
Hot 100, we have Route 100, we have.
All right, so Casey, appease it. What's the choice?
Fine, Hot 100 if it's the playoffs. Hot 100 if it's the playoffs.
All right, Hot 100. All right, Jeremy.
If it's the playoffs. If it's a regular season game, I would do bags. If it's playoff, I'm going football.
All right, good.
I'm okay with that.
More
official size, leather bound, no Nerf. A real football.
I love it. Yeah, baby. I'm more the football guy.
And if things get a little crazy, depending on how the signature drinks go, we might play a game of 500. I don't know. Just take it back. Take it back to the school.
Asphalt parking lot.
Yeah.
Everybody around you loves it when you play 500 at tailgating. look at this asshole throwing the ball 40 feet in the air.
Let's just have 7 dudes all invade our space over here. Oh, God.
Hopefully nobody wants to walk through.
It look great. Doesn't matter. Anybody sprains their ankle. They're so.
Hey man, you could do that in Marshall. You can do that.
Yeah,
but I gotta say, probably nothing more badass than being a random dude walking through tailgating and dudes are playing 500 and they're like 500 and you just catch that ball.
That?
Yeah, you
one-handed
that mother and walk away. That's a cool feeling. So fair enough. You play 500, you give some stranger that option. That's cool.
I like it that you're kind of easing into this decision making piece too. You just kind of.
You guys are forcing my hand.
Making you a better human, my brother.
That was an opportunity to grow, Jeremy, and you grew well.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Do your number 2, where you're like the entire seltzer lineup.
Every seltzer.
You're gonna want weather,
except for high noons.
Weather.
This guy notoriously hates high noons, so he's got some vendetta against them. All right, my number 2. I feel like I had to go here, man. It's just not a tailgate. It ain't a party unless you have some music bumping. You need a stereo system, blasting some bangers, setting the vibe. And I'm a music guy. Love it. I used to kind of take it upon myself to DJ just about everywhere I'd go. Right, wrong, otherwise, whether it's somebody's computer, whether it's, later on iPods, phones, whatever it was, through Bluetooth. I think that's an absolute necessity. You need it. You can't be sitting out there in the quiet listening to the wind. You gotta be blasting some tunes. So easy number 2 for me, booming stereo system.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I've soured on it a little bit and maybe I shouldn't say soured, but where I tailgate, there's so many people playing music that I just feel like I don't need it.
No one wants
can I verify too? And when I say booming, it doesn't need to be like you're bleeding loud. No, you just need your own little ambiance though for your crew.
And like I said, as we've gotten older now, we have a lot of kids. So we used to play pretty inappropriate music, and so now when we play music, it's like, oh, the kids are here, skip,
baby
skip.
Shark.
Yeah, so it's just kind of changed things. It's become less of a necessity for me. When I was younger, oh yeah. Although, can we just not play Thunderstruck?
Yeah, save it for the dome. No, I agree.
Save
I
it for the
agree.
dome.
Save it for
Totally
the
agree.
dome.
Save it for the lights down.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear it
Yeah.
a million times. I also don't need to hear if you want to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. You don't need to play that during tailgating. That's stupid. It's silly. You wait until that semifinal game and you got the game in hand.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's good. I see what you're going with there. I'm an Alabama fan though, so I'll listen to it.
Listen to it on the way home.
Well, that was my number 2.
Your number 2. My number 2. I think when you want to tailgate, you got to get people comfortable. I flip-flopped a little bit on this, but I definitely, for me to have a nice tailgating, you need like a nice round plastic high top tables for people. You set your drinks on it, you set your food on it, you got somewhere to congregate. I don't necessarily like the camping chairs. I think those get in the way. I think people don't think they can sit in those, but if you throw a nice table out there, people just gather around it and visit. Otherwise there's just
standing height.
Standing height. Yep. Like I
like
said,
that.
a high top.
I like where you're going. I
top.
like the high top. I like it.
How long does
banquet
it take you
tables,
to? How long does it take you to set up?
Half an hour to an hour, I suppose.
Dang, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are you getting your high top? Where are you getting your high top?
I'd have to ask. I mean, you can get them online. They're actually not that expensive. Those white plastic high tops, and then you slap a decal on from Shields, and you're good to go. They're not overly expensive.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think I know what you're saying.
And they fold up
and then
flat.
You can always,
so you can put
do the old folding. You can always do the old folding table, and then you just have the PVC extenders.
Yeah, I mean, drill a couple holes.
Less
in
than
it,
half hour, Jeremy. That's
hook up the garden hose.
you can drink out the side.
Drink out the side of it the whole time. That's great.
100.
The PVC through the garden hose.
I got a pump pneumatic system that just pushes hot 100 the whole time. You might just have changed my life.
Vomit City.
Game changer.
Yeah. So the plastic high top for me is money. I think you walk into other tailgating places that don't have something like that, and you don't feel welcome. You don't feel like you can stay. People are just randomly bumping around.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I also don't mind setting my drink down every now and again.
Right.
Not having something in my hand every now and again.
Put your brat down on there.
See, and Doling, you were speaking my language. That's my number 2, is a brat. Like, there's nothing that hits better, like, after you've been hanging out for 4 hours, and something you can just grab quick. And I'm the same way. If there's yellow mustard, I'll take it, but spicy brown is the way to go. You just get that, that cheap white bun that's like just pure sugar.
It's like cake.
Yeah. And then just a line of mustard, and we go.
Num, 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 num.
See, the problem is, Casey, I like your queso. Gosh, there were a couple of SMSU tailgating games that we went to that like people did like shrimp boils and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I've done that. I did that down in Frisco.
I can't stop, right? Like, if there's queso, like, I'll keep eating it. So
okay.
So if I can just gross. Right. And if like probably a brat or 3, but that's a pretty smooth little midday meal before you go into the game. So
the ability of it, like we said, right? The ability to like you eat
just grab it
at the same time.
Grab it and go. Yep.
Love it. Yep.
So,
there's a whole lot of honorable mentions on here too.
Yeah. I'm probably more likely to grab the brat inside before I hit my chair, just so I got something. But
you want to pay $12 for it? Come on, man.
Get back to the university.
You know, the one thing I'm gonna get when we go to that game this Sunday, there's like a cheese curd stand at US Bank that is ungodly real.
Really?
It's so good. Yeah. Each curd is like the size of my fist. It's just
delicious.
So I have not.
And there's jalapenos diced into it.
I haven't been there yet. I haven't been to US Bank.
I'll have to do that again. You got to meet up there. That's what I'll do.
Maybe come for a Lions game.
Yeah. You are not really a Lions fan, are you? That's so sad. I know you're a Vikes fan. All right.
Yeah. I think the old Lions picked up a NDSU guy, so I got to cheer for him a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Chris Ward's playing for him now. I think
he made the roster. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he might be starting for him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm a Lions fan. Good jersey.
Well, I'm still not a Lions fan, but good for him. I hope he plays well. Yeah. We on to number ones, boys. Who knows?
We are.
We are. My number one. I'm back to the booze. Apparently, I got a problem.
Okay. See you.
I started in college and there with a little dabbling into this said drink. But now that I'm older, especially whether it's cold, whether it's hot, I'm going to start with a sweet Bloody Mary. And I have this philosophical belief, as long as I'm start with that good salty Bloody Mary, I cut it with a chaser throughout the morning, I'm never going to get a hangover. And it hasn't proven me wrong yet, but I love it. It's like a filling. It's also
trust the
filling to it, right? I don't need a whole meal built into there with the accoutrement, but
I would.
I like a beef stick. I like some cheese. I don't need celery.
Cheeseburger.
No, I don't need the cheeseburger. No, Jeremy, I don't.
You drill the hole out of the brat and use that as the straw.
That's creative. That's really creative. Just use you know what? Good visual. Drilling through a foot long hot dog.
Yep. The old brat straw, man. No one will mess with you for sure.
Yeah,
no one will talk
up
to you
the VR goggles on that visual. Jeez.
Oh God. We've lost him. We've lost him.
Oh,
that's
took a drink at the wrong time.
Yeah, you changed my life with a PVC Hot 100 pipe system. I'm gonna change your life with brat straw. We're even now.
Nope. We're good. I'm still on Bloody Mary. That's it.
All right.
Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I've never been a Bloodies guy, but I can say not for me. Well, it always reminds me of SpaghettiOs, and that's turned me off.
No, I'll make. Okay, we're gonna do the tailgating thing for sure. We're gonna have to get some dates lined up after this, and I will whip you up one when I'm up there.
All right.
Super spicy.
I'll try one. Yeah, they gotta be spicy. I'm not a big tomato guy.
Yeah, do you ever have do you ever have the ones with like some horseradish in it?
Oh yeah.
No, I don't like them. Good. Never had one I like, but I'm always willing to try. I mean, I'm a man that eats the fruit whole, so send it my way.
I like it.
My number one. Oh, go on, Jeremy.
No, after you.
Oh, okay. My number one. Again, this is probably a byproduct of getting a little older, but just from a pure comfort level, I feel like to tailgate all day long, you got to have some sort of tent. And if I'm gonna be honest, you got to have sidewalls on that tent eventually. It's fine in September, October, but you get in November, December, you got to have walls on that thing because I got to keep my heat from my heater in. I want to be comfy. We tailgate, like I said, in December, and I'm in there in boots and jeans and a long sleeve, and I got my coat hanging up on the tent because it's comfortable. That's nice. You can be out there the whole time. Just
I like it.
When it's raining, you can tailgate. When it's windy, you can put the walls up and be comfy in there. It just creates a nice environment no matter where you are. Then you can put your stereo in there. You can have a nice big stereo regardless of the weather.
Stereo, there it is. My number two.
That's what I'm saying. You get a bar under there. You do it all, man. The tent. It gives you a nice base so everybody knows where you're at.
Yeah.
It's my number one. Tent.
Plus I've had some
changing.
I mean, you mentioned the colder, but man, I've had some early season tailgates in the past where I'm just like a sweaty mess before I go in because it's a little sunburn.
Yeah, right.
Too many seltzers.
Keep that sun off you.
Too many buddies.
That's my number one. Tent.
Nice. I like it.
I like it. I can go with it.
You had a lot of equipment. I mean, you went
comfy,
a little different. You went a little different route than I did.
Well, Jeremy, I'm picking up the
seasoned.
vibe. I think he's the most experienced out of us in this.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, this is through 14 years of slowly adding all these things.
You just cut your teeth. You didn't learn this overnight.
No. This is my 14th rodeo, so getting a little better.
Yeah. I gotta imagine, are you guys a known spot? Are they
yeah, definitely people stop by. I mean, we have a name, it's like so yeah, people know
Dr. Hansen.
Yeah, we're called the Silent Z Crew, based on how people pronounce bison. I don't know why they came up with the Silent Z because it's not a silent Z, it's actually a pronounced Z. It's more of a silent S. But anyways, I didn't choose that name, but we have a name. We've run the gamut. It's gotten smaller definitely through the years. At our peak, we were for sure popping, but again, as we've all gotten older, when we moved into our mid to late 30s, just other stuff comes up. A lot of the main guys that set up are gone on the, they got work commitments on the weekends and all that stuff. And it is a lot to tailgate.
They're just not committed.
Well, yeah, I guess, but it's a long time of commitment. These guys used to get in line Friday night at 5:00 with their RVs to get a spot. So
there's 2 seasons. There's football season and waiting for football season, man. They just need to,
So
maybe
I think some burnout from all the effort through the years. Like I said, hour before the game, you gotta take down for half an hour after, then another half an hour. Well, a half an hour before the game starts, you gotta tear down most of your crap. Then after the game, you gotta pack everything else up. It's just it is a lot to tailgate like that. You need 10, 12 people really committed to it, and
you need roadies. You should hire people.
Yeah,
that should be on your list next year. So, all right, my number one, and this shows how not seasoned I am. Like, I put music as my number one because everything else aside, like, I could be in a car with the windows rolled down. If I've got a signature drink and music, I can tailgate. I can tailgate. I don't need anything else. I don't need anything else on that list. Like,
tossing that football hand to hand in the car. Brat on your lap, actual brat, everybody for the visual.
No, I'm just saying I don't need anything else. Like, like I could pop the trunk and just stand behind it and I'll be good. I don't need the high top table. I don't need bags. I don't need pong. Just they're getting ready for the game.
I hear you.
So you're just tailgating every day of your life then?
Maybe.
Your life's one big tailgate.
Life's a tailgate.
Tailgating for life.
I'm not here to argue.
That's a great.
That's a great philosophy. I'm doing it
every day in the clinic parking lot.
Yeah. Roll the window down. Hit the tunes up.
Thunderstruck and hot 100.
Going through a garden hose.
Yeah. From an air pump in the trunk, just forcing it through.
This shit.
Jeremy, it's Tuesday morning. I know, I'm so ready.
Yeah. Is anybody else ready?
Yeah, I've been here since 4:30. You guys don't tailgate?
Yeah. Oh, this is fun. I wasn't sure how this would go, but I think it was all right. I think it was fun. We got a few different things on our list, and we got some plans.
Once you guys tailgate together, just you guys both got to get a picture together with the brat straws.
Brat straws. We're putting Nick in charge of those. Now, do we cross
action shot? Jeremy, you want an action shot?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I picture us wrapping our arms around each other while we suck through the brat straws, looking at each other's eyes.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Purely a joke.
Yeah. How much mouth coverage on the brat straw? There's some etiquette to the brat straw, I assume.
Yeah, you go ahead, cut your teeth on those the next couple home games.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try it out so it's not weird by the time you show up. It was like, oh, look at that dude, he's got brat straw.
As long as you look comfortable doing it won't be weird.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm practicing.
I'm practicing, guys. I got to make this cool. Handing them out to everybody I know. Here, I made these brat straws. Try them out.
No.
I don't know. It seems like a gateway to monkeypox. I don't want that.
You don't share a brat straw, Nick. That's a faux pas.
Okay.
Unless you flip it around, then it's okay. You can hit the other end of a brat straw. I think that's all right.
We're officially off the rails.
Off the rail. Now we are off the rails.
That concludes episode 34. PT Shop Talk. Thanks everybody for listening. Like always, subscribe, follow us, Facebook, Twitter, hit us up on YouTube, ptshoptalk@gmail.com. If you got anything you want us to talk about, top 5 lists you want us to go over, interested in being a guest, know somebody who would be interested, let us know. Leave comments on Facebook. Want to talk about our lists, give us some ideas of stuff we missed out on. Until next time, I'm Casey Hansen, and with me as always is Nick Doling and Jeremy Van Klompenberg. See you, everybody.
Bye.